Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of FaceTurn with Candace, Cordelia, a PWI production. We have another exciting installment for you for our special Rising Stars series, where we bring you all of the rising stars, or at least our selected rising stars in the wrestling industry, so you can keep an eye out for what they have in store now and in the future. Today, I have a very special guest, and you might have seen her doing her thing as a singles wrestler in the ring, but also perhaps in her faction called the Free Babes, and we'll get into that and so much more. Please give a hearty welcome to our guest today, Jazzy Yang. Hey, Jazzy, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Was I cool with the introduction? I think I got not everything in, but I wanted to get a few things in so that we can leave some suspense for our viewers and get this conversation flowing. But thank you so much for being a part of this show. You know, we've been keeping an eye out on things that you've been up to in the ring, and I can't wait to talk to you about your journey as a pro wrestler. You know, my first question certainly has to do with the legacy that you are upholding. And for those who might not know this already, Jazzy is a second generation wrestler. Her dad is Jimmy Yang, also known as Jimmy Wang Yang, and they have wrestled as a tag team together. So I definitely want to get into that. But my first question to kick things off is, given the legacy that you are upholding as who is your father, Jimmy Yang, and carving a path for yourself in this profession, you know, what was the catalyst for you in deciding to become a professional wrestler?
Originally, I wanted to be a WNBA player. I wanted to play basketball. I loved basketball. But then I looked at like the salaries and like how much women basketball players make, and I was like, I better not.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm curious, what are the salaries? What was it? I had no idea.
It was pretty bad.
Wow,
I'm trying to remember what it was. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Kind of like the same as like a cheerleader too.
Like that's an NFL very cheerleader. Fascinating.
Yeah.
That's really fascinating. So then, given that revelation that you had, and given who your father is, I'm sure growing up you saw what he did, you know, within the WWE and many other promotions, and seeing the struggles that he had to become a professional wrestler. But knowing all of this, you know, what was the moment in which you said, besides looking at the salaries of NWA stars, that you were thinking, all right, I want to follow in my father's footsteps and be a pro wrestler?
I'm getting the chance to go to Japan and like having that moment, like being in the ring and that adrenaline rush you get like before the show and having it, and then after, like the reaction of the people, that's like what really got me. And I feel like I had got the wrestling bug then, and like after that I was like, this is what I want to do.
Wow. So it was that simple. You were in Japan, you got in the ring, you saw what was happening, and you were like, this is it for me.
Yeah, it was my debut. So
that's amazing. That is so cool. So with that debut and you just being ready to do more, I understand also your father trains you. So what is that like, getting that specific type of training from none other than your own father?
It's like it's training everywhere. So like we have our like actual practice, but like after, everyone knows like the ride homes from like games with your dad, and you get like the lecture, but I get that like every day. So it's like constant wrestling training like my whole life. So.
Oh wow. So you were pretty much made for the ring. You were ready to go. And you also had that basketball, I understand, basketball background and basketball training too. But what other sports? Did you play any other sports growing up besides that?
Yeah, I was a cheerleader. I played volleyball, basketball, and softball in high school. So
wow.
I did a little bit of everything.
That's awesome. But wrestling definitely won out. So now you're back from Japan. You're ready to go. Talk to us about the journey from having your debut in Japan to where you are right now, where you're really getting your feet wet more in the independent scene.
So once I got back from Japan, I was still like a sophomore in high school, and it was still basketball season. So I was like, my dad was like, yeah, graduate first and then we'll like start going on. And then, so I had my debut in the States like a year later, and it was just like one match. And then we're like still like going like slow because of school and basketball and everything. And then COVID hit. So like everything got shut down. So then I really started training then. and then after I graduated, and I moved to Georgia like last year, and then that's when I actually started like getting on the independent scene and doing all that stuff.
Very nice. So how is it in Georgia? What are your thoughts and your takes about the Georgia independent scene, which I understand is really booming at the moment?
Yeah, I feel like there's a show like every weekend here, so that's really good. Once again.
That's amazing. I know you're chopping up a little bit there, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's all good. This is how it is now with virtual. You never know
Yeah.
what we're gonna work our way through it. So yes, you're in the Atlanta scene, and then you make your way to NWA. Talk to us about being a part of NWA Power, which was truly a historic event last year.
It was amazing, and then like being able to be with like Nikki James, Gail Kim, Melina, like they used to take care of me when I was little in the back when my dad would wrestle. So like getting to be with them, and it's like actually I'm on the show too. It was like a full circle moment kind of, and it was amazing. And I was like the youngest one there, so I was just like watching what everybody else did and like taking notes kind of.
Oh my goodness. So having said all of that, and shout out to Nikki James. I know by the time this airs, it will be past her birthday, but I want to say happy birthday to Nikki James. She's phenomenal and so beloved. And to have someone like that in your corner is truly a blessing. What valuable advice have you taken from those such as Mickey James, your father, other people that you've looked up to growing up? You know, what have you taken in terms of implementing in your own career?
A lot of like my setbacks are like with confidence. So like anything they give me about confidence always helps me, and it's like just everybody there is like thinking about themselves too. So like don't worry about like all your like don't worry about everything so much. Like when I'm out there I feel so awkward. Like I know everybody else probably feels the same way. So it helps me like realize like no, you just do your stuff, like nobody cares. Yeah.
That's really good to know. And I think that's important to share, especially if you're in the ring by yourself. It can be a bit daunting, and a lot of people may not realize that. But you know, the saying "fake it till you make it." It seems as though
Yeah.
that's something to also that a lot of people keep in mind just to get through the whole match. But besides wrestling solo, you're also a part of this really interesting faction, all second generation wrestlers called the Free Babes. You know, you have yourself, Haley J, and Miranda Gordy. So talk to us about working with those two girls and what you all have learned from each other.
It was fun. We only like had that one time at Empower. Like that was like when we first met each other. So it's like crazy, like trying to see if it's gonna work out. And I feel like it did. But we all live in like 3 different areas. Like I'm in Atlanta, Miranda's in Kansas City, and then Haley's in like Kentucky. So it's like hard for us to still do stuff. But it was great for me to like be a part of a group because like I would only wrestle with my dad and stuff. So like they're showing me like being like a woman in the locker room and stuff like that. It was great to see.
Wow. What was that dynamic like, meeting each other for the first time, but also knowing that all of you, you know, you're second generation wrestlers, you have a different experience than a lot of other people, you know, in this world. So meeting each other for the first time, what was that experience like?
And it was exciting. It was like right before we all went into like the big meeting. But my dad and Miranda's like brother, Ray Gordy, they like were a tag team before too. So it's kind of like weird how we're all like back together. Like we're a tag team now after them. So.
That is certainly full circle. And it just goes
Yeah.
to show, you never know, right? You go through life and you never know how things are going to come together in such predestined ways. But that's really amazing. Have you watched any of your father's matches, you know, on camera, much less in person, I'm sure, but on camera to really get an idea of psychology and how you can further better your in-ring work?
Yeah, I definitely look back at a lot of them now. Like when I was younger, it'd be scary to me. It's like give me nightmares because I didn't want to see my dad getting beat up. But now I definitely like look back and like even like when we have our matches, we film them all and he'll like point out everything about them. So.
Oh goodness! So you have that advantage, which is really decent.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you stated you. Of course, you're a kid. You don't want to see your father get beat up, and you're probably thinking, "Oh my goodness, what's going to happen when we all go home? What's going on?" Now that you're much older and you're working with your dad and you're seeing that dynamic, what what are you thinking in terms of looking back at that as a child and then seeing how everything really works now as an adult?
I feel like I knew nothing at all. It's like so much more now that I understand. Like even with my first 2 debuts, like I still was so green and like still didn't know that much. And now looking back, I'm like, oh, that's what I was doing. So yeah, stuff like that.
That's great. So what do your friends think about what you're doing in the ring and your pro wrestling career as you're really making a name for yourself now?
And it's like a mix of both. You know, there's always the haters that are gonna be like, it's fake, whatever. But most people are like, that's really cool. Like, you get to travel and it's fun. So
What's your favorite place that you've been to so far?
probably Japan. That was fun.
I I don't blame you. I haven't been
Yeah.
yet. It's number one on my list. I really am planning to go at some point and see a lot of wrestling. What is it about Japanese wrestling that you enjoy?
I like how they respect it so much more over there, and it's like a sport to them. I love that part about it. I love sports. I love playing sports. So like being over there and they're like treating it like a sport is great for me.
I love it. And you're absolutely right. The culture, they revere the sport of wrestling and hold it to a certain degree of honor, which is amazing. And I also personally love seeing that as well. Is there anything else about Japanese culture in general that you really like? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I love the respect like everybody has for each other. I like that part,
Mhm.
and I kind of like how it's go 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 over there. Everything.
Oh, so
I
you're
like
not.
Mr. Donut.
Oh, okay. All right. And
It's like
you're one
donuts
to.
over there.
I did not know that. Okay, so what's your favorite flavored donut?
They had like those little like circle ones. I'm trying to think. I don't know what they're called. Like you know, like the little circle donuts that are now like everyone has them.
You mean the donut hole itself or like
It's
the
like
inside?
a bunch of little rings around, and it makes a donut.
Oh, this is new to me.
Yeah,
I have to look this up. I don't know if I'm trying to envision that. It sounds tasty either way. So now
yeah,
I have something else to discover. But that sounds so delicious. Now I want donuts. So thank you, Jazzy.
yeah. They had a bunch of Pokemon donuts too.
Oh, that's lovely. I can
Yeah,
see that. That is so cute. Oh my gosh. First things first, getting to Japan, get a Pokemon donut. And
yeah.
be in heaven. That's really cool. What else do you like to do for fun besides wrestling and just being you? What else do you like to get into?
I like to play sports, so like basketball, volleyball, anything, and I like to coach my little cousins in their
Hmm.
sports because they're like in middle school now, so they're just like at that stage where they're learning how to play sports. So I like to coach them, and I binge watch shows on Netflix.
Okay. So my first question following that is, would you consider yourself a tough coach?
Sometimes I can be fun because you know for little kids you have to make it fun for them, but like
Yes.
after a while I'm like, oh my gosh.
Patience wear thin a little bit.
Yeah,
I get it. I get it. But that's such a nice and
yeah.
noble thing that you're doing, coaching your cousins. That's really cool. And second follow-up question is, so what are you binge watching now on Netflix?
I'm rewatching Jane the Virgin for the third time.
Oh, all
Have you
right.
seen it?
I've never seen it.
It's so good.
I know it's been out. I know it's however years old. It's been out for a while and it's been done for a while, but
Yeah, it's really good.
I
And I
it's
just finished like a K drama. I love K dramas too. And it was called The Bride of Quebec, and it was really good.
I will put that in my ever-growing queue as well, both of them. It's a
Yeah,
long list, but I'll eventually knock out everything. Now, K-drama is so popular now versus
yeah,
even a couple of years ago. Now, are you into K-pop at all?
yeah. I like BTS and Blackpink.
Okay, we're gonna get along just famous
Yeah,
because they're my top two. Recently
yeah.
watched Blackpink for the MTV VMAs, and I was like, yeah, this
Oh
is
my
it.
gosh, their
This is
tour is coming up. They just like released their dates. I'm so ready.
oh my goodness. Have to go, well, if they're not sold out, but
Yeah,
so we'll get on that. But love
yeah.
to know that you're a fan. That's really, really decent. So what are you up to now in wrestling? Are there any upcoming shows? Anything that we should keep our eyes peeled on?
And I have Southern Fried Championship Wrestling coming up soon. There's that one. Southern Honor, KLT, just a bunch of Georgia shows. I'm around Georgia.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Any means to venture out a bit out of the Georgia indie scene and go perhaps a little bit farther away or maybe even closer to Georgia?
Yeah, I want to go everywhere. I think the top on my list would probably be like Spain, like Mexico.
Oh, very, very nice. So AAA,
Yeah.
CMLL. I love it.
And I definitely want to wrestle in South Korea.
Oh,
so bad.
So is there a South Korea wrestling scene? Because I'm very curious about that. Okay.
Yeah, that's called Society Wrestling in South Korea, and Joey Janela's going there like for their next show. And I was like, could have been me.
You're like, Joey, you took my spot.
Yeah. I want to go so bad.
We'll have to add him and say, Joey, look, like you got it this time. Let Jazzy come through.
Time. He's not even Korean. It's not fair.
That's okay though. That's okay. You can have your drop diversity. That's completely fine.
I wonder if he even likes K-pop.
Oh, you know what? We're gonna have to, Joey, if you're watching, have to mention him. Jazzy Yang would like to know if you like K-pop. So we're gonna wait for that answer. We're gonna start a dialogue. But that's a great question, actually. That's a really good question. But K-pop is so popular now, and there's so many people you wouldn't even expect.
Yeah, I get so surprised by it.
Yeah. So it's really booming. But speaking of booming, your career is on the up, and that's why we've chosen you as one of our entrants for this series. We're seeing what you're doing and everything that you're making possible for yourself. Only about 3 to 4, almost 4 years in, which is something of note. You know, for anyone that's watching this that might also want to follow in your footsteps, follow in any wrestler's footsteps, and want to get started, what advice would you tell them?
Find the right people to teach you. That's like number one. Like find the right school, find someone who has been there and knows what they're talking about, and listen to them, and then work hard and do everything you need to do. Like worry about like all the different parts about it, like the theater part about it, your character, the wrestling. Start with the wrestling. And just everything. Really? And everything's important. So
everything's important. That's very sound advice. Very nice. So what is your ultimate career goal? If you've thought more about it, where would you like to be? What would you like to do? And where do you see yourself going within the next couple of years?
I kind of want it all. I would like to do everything. I want to travel the world, like be in video games, action figures, everything. And something I really want to do is like one of those complex shoe videos, you know, that Liv Morgan just did. I really want to do that and drop like all my money.
So you want to drop? I think she dropped, what was it, almost 30? Might have been over 30,000.
Oh my gosh!
It was a huge headline because that's a lot of money. But those sneakers are very expensive. I've been in that store and it's wild to just see the price tags.
Yeah. I was wondering if they like give you the money, like they gave them the money, like Roman and like her. I wonder if they gave them the money and then they like
went wild, just went shopping.
Yeah.
That would be very nice.
I would love that.
Just to be all the money. So you would call yourself a sneakerhead at this point?
Yeah. I used to be like so obsessed with these shoes, like in high school and like middle school and everything, and then I'll kind of mellow it out because they cost too much money.
There are a lot, and you know, especially I'm on the East Coast. It's such a huge culture. People camp outside for the latest sneakers, you know, a day or two in advance, and it's really embedded, especially in New York. I'm based not far from Philadelphia, and the East, it's huge. But people will pay a good amount of money for those sneakers, and then some people pay for the sneakers and then resell them, which is another conversation.
I don't like that.
That's a huge culture as well. Yeah, the reselling culture. But good to know all of these great things. So also, what else in terms of the next, you stated you had one show coming up. Is there anything else after the summer that we should really keep our eyes on? Anything special without giving it completely away that we should look out for?
There's nothing that I really know about yet, but just follow socials, I guess.
All right. Perfect. Very cool. Very, very nice. What's one piece of valuable advice that your dad has given you to always remember no matter what, not just in the sport of wrestling, but just life in general?
Just like everything's important. That's what I got that from him.
I love that. Really, really like that, Jazzy. Thank you so much for being a part of this episode of FaceTurn. It's lovely to meet you. You're doing wonderful things and you're among a very impressive class. So I'm super excited to present to you our PWI audience. And we look forward to seeing what you get into next as your career blossoms.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. And thank you all for watching this episode of FaceTurn with Candace Cordelia. I'm your host, Candace Cordelia. Stay tuned for more exclusive interviews with established wrestlers, up-and-coming wrestlers, and other talents within the wrestling industry. And please don't forget to click, like, subscribe, watch, listen, no matter where you are. And follow everyone here. Follow Jazzy and all of the wonderful stars that we continue to present to you on this show. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, we'll see you later. Take care of yourselves.